name is Sydney. Thank you so much for joining me for my third YouTube episode. I have been a photographer for 10.5 years, and I created this YouTube channel just as an opportunity for other female photographers to see another female photographer and to be inspired to live their biggest, fullest, juiciest life. I don't know if I like the word juicy, but that's what we're gonna stick with for now. So for this video, I wanted to talk about the 7 mindset shifts I wish I would have known starting out in my early 20s, late teens as a photographer. A little background on me, I actually have a degree in journalism and photography. So my passion for photography lies in creative storytelling and telling every piece of a story. So that I will get more into that in later videos. But for now, I want to talk about different mindset shifts that I've learned over my 10.5 years of being a photographer. First mindset shift that took me a couple of years to learn is collaboration is everything. So it wasn't until I started putting myself in rooms with other photographers that I started meeting a lot of other creatives that we just were able to bounce ideas off of each other. Now there is something to be said about kind of watching your back and learning to trust certain people and learning who is going to care for your creative ideas and not use them to elevate their own work versus people who genuinely care about you. So just use that in your collaboration process, but don't use that as a reason to think of someone as competition either. So I wanted to talk about how collaboration, when you are in a room or working on a project with other creatives, the energy is unmatched. So when you find someone who speaks your language, it is amazing, and it doesn't happen very often for me as a creative person. The example I like to give is if you've ever seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise. He is in this room with big computers, kind of like in like those spy James Bond films, right? The big computers. So he's like swiping, and that is basically my brain. Like I will visualize, I can visualize photos and videos very, very quickly, and it happens within seconds about 50 times a day, and all it takes is one keyword to trigger a whole creative idea. And I'll just kind of like stare into space and I'll just see like ideas like flashing in my brain. So that's how my brain works. And it wasn't until I started putting myself in rooms with other creatives that I learned I wasn't the only one who did that. And it was so amazing to be able to work with other people, talk with other people, and even plan future ideas and concepts and videos and projects that we want to do together in the future that will just be even more epic, because it's not just one person doing it, it's multiple. Teamwork is so important when it comes to creativity, and I just really want to drive that into your brain if you are a young photographer. You do not have to do it alone, and I highly recommend that you don't do it alone. Figure out what you want to do. There are projects that you can do alone, and that I recommend you do figure out kind of what your vision is, but it also is okay to team up with other people, and sometimes that is the most efficient thing moving forward. Being an artist is hard, and making it is hard, so if you can do it together, I highly recommend it. Mindset shift number 2 is put yourself in rooms that you want to be in. I think that it's really easy as young artists to see other people and think, well, that's not for me, or even if you don't think that initially, that can be an underlying belief. So sometimes we think, like you see someone living out a dream and you might think, well, that's cool for them, but that'll never happen to me. And if we have that really quick second thought come into our head, well, I guess it'd be your first thought. If we have that first thought come into our head of, oh, that's for them, there's an underlying belief there, and that is that that's not for you. That's not true. So we're gonna take that belief, crumple it up, and throw it out of there. So I want you right now to write down a list of 5 different things that you really want to do. Just if there was no money, no time, or any restraint on you, what would you do tomorrow? And I want you to write those 5 things down. And once you write those things down, start doing the research to plan to see how you can make this thing actually happen. Dream written down with a date becomes a goal. Remember that. Third mindset shift that I really want to talk about is don't be afraid of the sun. Now, I know this might sound a little bit silly and is maybe not a mindset shift for some, but might be for others. It was one that I needed to work on. So I grew up in the Midwest where greens and blown out skies were very popular in the photography world, and I also was taught that you shouldn't photograph in the sun, that harsh shadows are bad, stay away from harsh shadows, don't shoot at noon. Well, I want to tell you that I completely disagree with that now. And I think that for some situations that works, but for finding your style, I highly recommend once you learn the rules, learn how to break them. And so learn your camera, learn manual mode. I will talk about that in another episode. And learn the basics, but then don't use those to tie yourself down. Learn how to break those rules and play around with different times of the day, watch what the light is doing, and don't be afraid of shadows. We will get more technical on that a little bit later, but until then, go play in the sun, photograph in the sun, kind of play around with where the light is hitting. So, quick example, my light is right here, so the light is shining right here, and there's shadows here. So really just pay attention as you move your hand around. Where is the sun hitting? Where is that going to hit on the subject? What are you shooting, and where is the sun going to hit? Okay, so the 4th mindset shift that I wanted to talk about is editing. Editing is half of the process, and I think as a young photographer, I remember thinking that if I didn't get this shot 100% in my camera, then I was cheating, and that is not true. And some photographers might gatekeep information or tell you that it's not a real photo if you had to edit, and I think that if that is your belief, that is totally okay, but I also want to encourage you to play around with your editing style. There are so many different things that once you learn how to take a good shot in camera, using editing as a way to enhance what you've already taken, not to fix. So I'm going to say that again. Use editing as a way to enhance the work and the knowledge you have with your camera, not to fix. Now, I will say that sometimes I do get a little bit lazy, and I think I will fix that in post-processing. However, I usually am not very happy with myself when I do that. So, if you have not completely figured out your editing style, there's so many different videos you can watch to learn how to edit, how to color grade, all of that. And editing is such a fun thing, and I would highly recommend just playing around with it, and don't be afraid to take those dials on Lightroom and move them all over just to see what they do. Editing is half of the process, I would say, in photography. It's where your style is born, and I know that for my work is typically recognized because of my editing. Number 5. Okay, so this is maybe not quite a mindset shift, but just something to be aware of as a photographer, specifically female photographers. I'm speaking to you. One of the things that I run into still after 10.5 years of experience and lots of experience doing many different types of photography, everywhere from food branding, documentary, newspaper, portraiture, conceptual, and landscape photography. I am still underestimated based on my gender and the fact that I am young. This is something that I just wanted to bring to the forefront so that you are aware of it and can think about it in the future, and also to know that other female photographers are also going through it as well. Don't let this stop you from pursuing your dreams. You are extremely talented and your story matters. Speaking of story, let's go on to number 6. So this is the 6th mindset that I wanted to talk about, what I wish I would have known when I was younger. Your story is your superpower. What does this mean? Okay, so back to a little bit about me. I have a degree in journalism and a minor in photography. So I absolutely love the idea of storytelling. I think it is a great way to guide your photography process, your photography planning process, etc. A little bit of background on what creative storytelling is so that I can continue on with my 6th mindset. Creative storytelling is basically the work like a photojournalist. So let's say that you are going to a birthday party. You're going to photograph not only the kid opening up the presents or the cake, but you're also going to photograph the details of the cake. Is the light hitting the cake? Where is it hitting the cake? Is there any way you can accentuate the writing on top of the cake? The candles being blown out. Where is the smoke hitting? Is the candle in front of the light? Can you get the details of the candle while the kid is blowing it out? Where's the light hitting as the kid is blowing out the candle? So there's so many different details you can really dive into, and that is creative storytelling. Diving into every detail in that story that helps the viewer see the mood, see the feeling, see the color, everything that was present in that room when you were there. You are regurgitating, I don't know if that's the best word, that onto and into your work. Back to number 6, your story is your superpower. So I think one thing that I have found as a photographer is I have a story, you have a story, and learning how to use your story in your photography really helps your work stand out. For me, I am extremely passionate about helping women, and that comes from a lot of hard things that I've had to deal with in the past. And for a really long time, I tried to hide that. I was like, no, that's not important. But at some point, if you keep pushing that part of you that maybe you just don't want to deal with, at that moment down, it's gonna come out in full swing. You might start over here on the pendulum, but if you don't deal with it, it's gonna swing this way. So I just want to encourage you that if you have something that is hard that you've had to deal with, maybe it is something that you've seen, maybe it's a place that you live, use that story, advocate for not only yourself, but for other people who also have that story. So using your photography as a way to advocate for yourself, to communicate things that can be difficult to deal with, and even using that in a positive light is so important. A photograph is worth 1,000 words. So just think about that. What is your story? How can you use that in your photography? Once you know how to tell your story, this also helps you know how you can tell other people's stories as well. It also will give you examples of work to show future clients. Don't be afraid of the pain. Use it as your superpower to create beautiful things. Okay, so for number 7, I'd like to talk about the importance of planning out shoots. Now, I am a very spontaneous person. I fly by the seat of my pants all the time. However, it is so important to know how to plan out your shoots. Working as a photographer for a corporate company and also working with other clientele, I have learned that it is very important to know how to communicate your creative ideas. To use Pinterest, but I don't use Pinterest as inspiration to copy. I only use it as inspiration for myself to kind of have a very soft idea of what I'm doing, but I always take it and run with it in the way that I do my own work. I do not use it to copy. So I wanted to be very clear on that. Do not use other photographers' work to copy. Use it as inspiration to do something a little bit different, but maybe as a way to communicate to the client what you're kind of thinking. Knowing how to communicate your creative ideas is so important with getting other clients, and even just knowing how you want to proceed in your creativity. Thank you guys so much for watching my third YouTube video. I really hope that you'll join me for the next one, and thank you so much.